what you're doing is you're putting those lives at risk. The same as the other leakers. You're putting people's lives at risk.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people call me the tinfoil guy because since the Obama came in 7.5 years ago, and you have those close ties in the military, have you noticed that all these generals and admirals that are kind of being drummed out, for he's got a gambling problem. Oh, he was sexually harassing somebody. There's a lot. Have you noticed? Is that true? Is there a purge going on in the military?
There are a lot of people that think so, and it mirrors what's going on in Turkey.
Yeah,
I mean, this is before the coup. If I have Turkish friends, and they talked about that, and in the Clinton administration, I was actually working in the Pentagon in 1998. And there was a series of officers, mostly Air Force generals, ironically, because those guys tend to be low-key, but they were using their retirement speeches as a way to criticize the president and say that this whole downsizing of the force was going way, way too far. And suddenly it stopped, because what happened is that the president's office, whoever went in and said, well, even though you're retired, that does not mean that you can't be affected. That doesn't mean that we can't adjust your retirement pay or whatever, because actually as a military officer, you're not really retired. It's an annuity. That's why they can call people into active duty at will.
Yeah.
And suddenly the criticism stopped.
Yeah, see, and that's just wrong. Nothing offends me more than somebody who would, like General Petraeus. As far as I'm concerned, I think he did far less. And there was no intent. You know what I mean? With Hillary, Comey said there was no intent. The heck, there wasn't. There was intent. Huma Abedin testified that she said she wanted a private server so people couldn't access her emails. That's all the intent in the world, if you're asking me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's just
absolutely with what we go through and with the places you work and all the embassies, and I mean I've dealt with embassies and everything. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows what you have to do to protect your communications, because it's easier than ever for Russia, China, North Korea. I mean, those folks are targeting government entities, and they're targeting the White House, they're targeting the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon, the Secretary of State. I had people working for me that produced intelligence analysis that ended up going to Hillary's office when she was Secretary of State. I've often wondered about that now. Is that out there? Are there names out there? Is that information in somebody else's hands, along with how we got it and what our analysis is, because it wasn't protected in the way it was supposed to be?
Yeah. What really scared me was when Comey said it's possible her server was compromised by Russia, Iran, China, but it wouldn't say that. How do they not know? I mean, they had the Guccifer guy, the Romanian hacker, in there who said, I did it, and then they said he retracted his statement. Well, you have to assume, I would think, from a national security standpoint, that they did. And if that's the case, why would you want her to be president? Because if China or Russia or Iran or North Korea have something bad on her, they can bribe the president of the United States to get what they want. Trade deals, it doesn't have to be nefariously an attack or anything, but they could get the upper hand in a simple trade deal if they have some bad communiques that they can expose on Hillary Clinton as president.
Absolutely. And when you have to go through the screening process to gain a security clearance in the military, those are the things they're looking for, those four main categories: ideology, money, drugs, and sex. And since the Bill Clinton years, where they essentially implemented the don't ask, don't tell policy, and now it's okay to serve openly, what really the investigators are looking for isn't so much is someone gay, but are they secretly gay, and is there something that can be used against them to blackmail them? Absolutely, absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm mystified that any American at this point, knowing that Hillary Clinton did these things, lied about it, but they still support her. It's just mind-boggling to me. I just can't get it. Did you get to watch any of the GOP convention?
Just a little bit. And just the night that Donald accepted.
It was my secret to watch it every night. I probably shouldn't have, but I stayed up later than I normally would, watched as much of it as I could. And what was pretty amazing to me was the diversity. I mean, they started out with Sheriff Joe Clark. Joe Clark? Not Joe Clark. Sheriff
Joe Arpaio?
David Clark. Not Joe Arpaio. That's who I was messing up with. Sheriff David Clark, I think. And he's a very
Oh, the guy from Milwaukee?
From Milwaukee,
oh,
yes.
Okay, sure.
And in fact, I had it right here, Sheriff Clark. Anyway, Sheriff Clark. And then they had women, and they had the little, did you see the little blind girl? Oh, you didn't see the opening. The little blind girl with cerebral palsy did the national anthem. And wow is all I could say. I mean, this, whether she had cerebral palsy or not, it would have been amazing. She had a really good voice, and they did it. I think they had a number of women. They had some blind people. And you want to talk about inclusivity. Peter Thiel, and I don't think a lot of people know who Peter Thiel is. He's one of the Silicon Valley guys who's big, one of our billionaires on the planet. He started PayPal. Well, he spoke at the RNC and came out as gay and Republican at the Republican National Committee. Derek, you got track 3 ready there? Let's play it. This is pretty amazing. I don't think people give it enough credit, but if you're talking about inclusivity, the Republicans are being as inclusive as they could possibly be. I mean, I know some people don't like that, but it's pretty huge. Go ahead and play that, Derek.
Of course, every American has a unique identity. I am proud to be gay. I am proud to be a Republican. But most of all, I am proud to be an American.
All right, so here's one of the richest guys in the United States. Probably never outed himself before. I mean, why you would choose to do it at the Republican National Convention is pretty amazing, but I'm glad he did. And I know people don't necessarily think of Republicans as being pro-gay or anything, and they're not. But they are being open to the fact that, hey, some people can be Republican even though their lifestyle wouldn't be the normal traditional Republican, When I grew up, my dad always said, I'd ask him, what is a Republican, Dad? And he always said, stay out of our business and low taxes. And at some point, as I went through college, the Republicans started getting into the gay marriage issue, the abortion issue, and all these other things. And I always thought to myself, that's kind of hypocritical, because if you're small government, stay out of our business and low taxes, why are you getting into telling people whether they cannot have an abortion or whether they could not be married gay or whatever? You know what I mean? It always amazed me because there was a big shift in the Republican Party from probably the 80s. Because I remember Ralph Reed. You know who Ralph Reed is, right? I remember him as a young man. He was the Young Conservative Christian group, whatever it was at the time. Right. And for me, that was a big change. And it seems like the Republicans are kind of swinging back to that libertarianism a little bit with this Trump movement that's kind of coming in, which I don't think is bad. You know what I mean? All right, so do you have a website for your election or anything?
I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
I've moved beyond the website. I have a Facebook page.
There you go.
It's Commissioner Steve Williams, or Re-elect Commissioner Steve Williams. Easy enough to find.
Okay.
And I'd be happy for people to visit it.
Okay, great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming in, and we will see everybody next week. Until then, go to thedailydrift.com. Keep news you need to know going. All right, see ya. Bye.